Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Executive Summit. My name is Chris Caputo. I'm going to be your host today, and I'd like to introduce my new friend, James Krause. How are you, man?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing well. You glad to be here today?
I'm actually very excited to be here. We've planned this out quite in advance, so it's been on my calendar. I've been looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, we are so excited. If we can get a round of applause for James.
Thank you guys.
All right. James is the top-ranked UFC lightweight fighting out of Glory MMA Fitness. Coach Krause is the proud owner and head instructor of this successful and talent-filled martial arts school right here in our local KC metro area. After a successful amateur career boasting 2 national titles, right? Coach Krause is known for his exciting and unrelenting style of competing. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt himself.
Black.
Okay. Well, hey. Thank you, sir, for correcting me. I do not want to get anything wrong with this man sitting here. That I'll tell you right now. He uses his experience and knowledge to coach numerous students to achieve amateur and professional success. His desire is to help those with the goal of improving their lives through martial arts and fitness, providing a fun, safe, and quality learning environments. I love that.
Go
James.
on.
Oh, you just want me to keep going? That's good. So, James, tell me, how did you get started in mixed martial arts? I'm curious. How did it all begin for you? Take us back.
So this is probably 2006. I had a friend that I wrestled with. When I say wrestled, I wasn't very good. I actually sucked at wrestling. I was terrible. I just kind of showed up and got thrown around by the guys that were actually really good at it. And I had a friend that invited me to come check this place out. Yeah. And it was something that I wanted to do. I was really small in high school, so I got picked on. I think I graduated high school at 5'8", 150, 155 pounds.
Wow.
So I wasn't a physically a big person at all. And one day I said, you know what? I'm just gonna. It's a prideful thing to walk into. It's intimidating to walk into one of those gyms for the first time. And really now it's a different scenario.
Right.
I think we've kind of paved the way for bringing more of a casual member, where anybody in the audience could go work out. Whereas before, it was like, look, if you want to go do this, you are under the assumption that you're going to compete, you're going to fight.
Right.
And that's not like that anymore. It was at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do it. So one day I showed up and I called my friend. I said, hey, I'm on my way today. I'll meet you there. And he said, hey, man, sorry, I just took a job with the union. I won't be there today. I'm done. I don't want to fight anymore. I got a great job. And I was like, oh God, okay. So I walked into this place not knowing anybody. And I really just fell in love with the sport. I've never been the most athletic guy in the room, and I've never been the fastest, the strongest, the most agile. I always got the weird awards as a kid, like the Hustle Award, and I was never the MVP. I got a couple of them, but I got the defensive player, the hard worker. I got those awards, and I feel like in MMA.
Most likely to work hard when you grow up, kind of thing.
Yeah. In MMA, if you are B- everywhere, that makes you an A fighter.
Wow.
So I really enjoyed the fact that I didn't have to be great in one specific area, and I enjoyed the fact that I could use my intelligence to overcome strength and speed and power. And it was something I really fell in love with. It's just a big. Constantly evolving chess match that it never ends, it never will stop, and there's phases that constantly. It's a game of change, and I love that. Wow. It's never one thing.
That's fascinating. So wait a minute, if I get this straight, when you were you picked on, you were bullied, and so did you get into a lot of fights when you were a kid, or would you just try to avoid fights because you didn't want to?
I'm a pretty. As weird as this sounds, I'm a pretty non-confrontational person.
Yeah, I could see that.
I definitely don't like to fight.
Totally.
I'm not mad when I fight. I compete. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So for me, it's and don't get me wrong. Sometimes you're a little bit more riled up than the next time. But I don't want to say I got bullied, but I did get picked on. I think there's a difference.
Yeah,
sure. I didn't have I don't know what some bigger kid picking on me every day.
Right.
But just because I was smaller, people thought that they could say whatever they wanted to me and get away with it. Now, that also being said, I was also the kid that had a chip on his shoulder. And I probably had it coming, if you guys want the truth about it. But,
Sure.
Regardless, it was just something that I wanted to. I really was fascinated by it.
So, what was that moment where you decided, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fight. I'm going to be a professional. Start with the amateur career. When did you say this is going to be my dream? Do you remember? Is there a moment in time that you remember specifically?
It still hasn't happened. No,
Okay.
it's just such a different time now. there's a process. There's a much more intelligent process that's being brought to the table now, where there's actual thinking involved rather than, it was a different time period. So, for example, now if somebody says they come into my gym, they say, "Hey, look, I want to fight," like. Slow your roll.
Yeah. Right.
Slow your roll.
Yeah.
You got at least a year before you're even thinking about it. Whereas whenever I joined, the first day they're like, "Hey, you have a fight in 2 weeks," and
Gulp.
and I was like, "Oh, it wasn't the first day. It was probably like the third or fourth day." But I really did fight 2 weeks after I started training.
Wow.
And it was. Was
that a helpful process? Throwing you right in there, literally?
It seemed to work. I mean, I'm doing okay now. It was extremely nerve-wracking because I wanted to compete, but not as soon as I did, and I got thrown to the wolves, and I did really well. I won my fight, and they came back and they're like, "Hey, you're fighting again in another 2 weeks." I'm like, "What? Like, I don't stop. Like, chill out."
Sure.
And it ended up being a great thing for me. I don't think everybody is the same, but for me, the worst part was like the anticipation and the waiting for the fight. So when they said, "Hey, you're fighting in a week," that actually calmed that down. And I remember out of probably 20 some amateur fights, I would say half of those were me just going to a show to watch and ended up, saying guys like, "Hey, I need somebody from 155 to 190 pounds." I'm like, I guess I'll do it, So I did a bunch of those, and like I said, I don't think it's for everybody, but it worked well for me.
Well, I think sometimes there isn't the manual, there isn't that I will call the Mr. Miyagi or Yoda that able to just throw you right in. There's a lot of value to that, but there's also a lot of what you're bringing to the table. It sounds like a lot of strategy. Let's take our time. Let's test you in the small places to see if this is even something you want to invest in for the rest of your life with the students that come into your gym or whoever comes into your life, kind of thing.
Well, the game has just evolved so much that you can't do that anymore. You can't just throw people in anymore. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
And when I started, it was a one-dimensional sport. It was you were either a kickboxer, jiu-jitsu guy, wrestler, and I was one of the very few. I was one of the first, especially in the Kansas City area. I was one of the first real people to come in and actually be a full, complete mixed martial artist, and I think that's why I did well.
Wow.
But now everybody's good everywhere, so you have to know it all. If you're one-dimensional, I mean, I have this saying that I like to tell my guys. It goes along the lines of, the lion is the king of the jungle, but if you throw him in the shark tank, he's just another piece of meat.
Wow,
So you got to be good everywhere. You have to know it all. You have to be good everywhere.
I like it. So, what do you love most about mixed? There's a lot that you said there, but what do you love most about the sport? What is it that really just fires you up? Is it the strategy? Is it the process of getting into the ring and then accomplishing the goal of either win or loss and learning from the process? What gets you most excited about mixed martial arts?
There's two things that come to mind. One is, I think this is the answer you're looking for. One is the puzzle. I love challenges, not just from a fighter perspective, but I love coaching other people through these challenges, especially whenever we have a fight coming up against so-and-so that hasn't been beaten in 2 years and is a wizard on the ground or a knockout artist. I love those.
Yeah.
I love, how do you solve this puzzle?
Okay.
I love that. And I love game planning, I love strategizing, and I love getting in the minds of my fighters, and I guess having the influence of being able to push somebody to another level that they didn't know that they could have. And I love taking myself to another level in competing. So I think I just enjoy the mental process of it. And the second part to my answer is that's what I love and have loved, and what it's done for me is it's really molded me into a person that I never thought that I would be. Martial. I don't really know where I would be without martial arts. It's changed my life. And I'm not sure where I would be mentally. You know what I mean? It's done so much for me. It's given me the opportunity to travel the world. It's given me the opportunity to meet people that have changed my life. It's given me the opportunity to go through hardships that have really, made me become a different person. This sport is filled with the highest highs and the lowest lows. It's not like basketball or football, and that's not a shot at those sports. But whenever you lose at those sports, it's that you lose. Like, hey man, I lost on Sunday. You don't lose at fighting. You get beat up in front of millions of people, and it's attack to your ego. It's attack to your pride. And I think I don't think anybody likes that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very humbling sport. You know, and you can't blame anybody. I can't say, hey, Johnny missed his block and I got sacked and we lost the game because of Johnny. I can't say that. I'm the only one out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's on me. And I love that. I love that. I'm the only one. I got to do it. You know what I mean? And it's something that fires me up and gets me going.
Would you say humility is a very huge thing in the sport that you're in?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
For the longevity of the sport?
You have to, yes, you have to be humble but confident.
Right.
You know, and that's a fine line sometimes. And I find sometimes that the most delusional fighters that like are not good, but they think they're way better than they are, they compete to a higher level because they think they're way better than they are.
Right.
And then I see these other guys that are phenomenal, and then they're so critical of themselves that they compete down. And it's finding the balance of that. And I've been on both ends of the spectrum.
Sure.
And that's why I can appreciate. That's why I said I like getting into the minds of people and elevating them to new levels, because I've been on both ends of the spectrum and I've seen, both avenues, and it's an amazing thing whenever you can get guys that really aren't as good as the guy they're competing against to beat them, just mentally. That's amazing.
That's awesome. So what's been, and I'm going to tie this back in because being the executive summit, we are speaking with professionals, executives, business owners, the challenges in the workplace, challenges as an employer, leading other people, competing against other businesses for the same market share. I want to ask, what was the biggest challenge that the greatest challenge you had to overcome becoming the champion that you are, or leading up to that? What would you say, or maybe that one fight that you had that really was just this pivotal moment of a shift for you? Have you had moments like that? Would you mind sharing that in humility?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. With our sport, I think it's kind of difficult because whenever you train, so let's say I want to train and I want to be in the UFC. The UFC is an invite only. It's like the NFL.
Right.
So it's not like you just grow up and say, hey, there's no process like let's say I want to be a doctor. I go through high school. I go to college after that. I do my 8 years or whatever, and get a PhD or whatever that process is. It's a very clear-cut process to doctor.
Right.
In MMA, it's not as clear of a process. So you have to do this, what you think may be your master's, bachelor's, whatever, not to become a doctor, but to have the chance to become a doctor, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
So you don't ever actually know if you're going to do it. So a lot of times there's always a point in any veteran fighter's career where it's like, man, do I do this or do I not do this? Like, I put so much time into this. Should I hang it up? I mean, is this the end? And for me, I was on a reality show called The Ultimate Fighter, and I was on a lot of big shows, but like, this was my break. If I won this fight, I was in the UFC, and all was well. Of course, I didn't win, lost my fight, and I'm not a very negative person, but I went into depression for 2 weeks, which isn't that long, but for me, it was a long time.
Sure.
And at some point, just like with everybody here, you have to make a decision. At some point in your life, there comes a time where you literally have to have this conversation with yourself, like, what are you going to do? You can sit here and cry and moan some more and not get anywhere, or you can pick yourself back up and make a decision. If that decision is to continue, perfect. If that decision is to go another route, regardless, we have to progress. In life, it's all about progression. You can't just be stagnant. Same thing with the sport. In any high-level sport, you can't be stagnant. There's no middle ground. You're either going backwards or forward. So for me, that moment was, I picked myself up and I said, do I do this again? And I was like, okay. I had to talk with a lot of people close to me, and we said, yeah, let's give it one more shot. Let's give it one more shot. And I went on a tear, winning a bunch of fights in a row. Eventually got invited back to the UFC, and I've been in the UFC ever since. So that moment is difficult, though, to pick yourself up from the lowest of the lows. And I think that moment where I had to make that decision was probably the most pivotal in my career, because I easily could have quit. Right. And been working a job that I can't stand right now, and it would have been a much different scenario. But I chose to follow that dream and do what I felt was right, and do what I love to do.
Wow. So you made a decision.
Yeah. Yes.
That's really what it came down to.
It's just a decision.
In the darkest of places, you made that decision.
Yes or no, and you have to. I mean, ultimately, if you're in a bad spot, I mean, whether the decision is made one day after the bad spot or a year or 10 years after, you got to make the decision. Or I guess you don't have to, or you can just sit in the bad spot for the rest of your life. But for me, in my experience, the difference between great people that achieve amazing things and average people and unsuccessful people that are very negative, the only difference in those people is the amount of time it takes for them to get over adversity. So, and I know that. You know, I don't think there's any lack of knowledge in this world. Like, look, if you guys want to know anything, just type it in on Google. You can find it all. It's all there.
Right.
And I know that, so it's just like, all right, well, I don't like this, but I don't want to sit here and complain more, so I gotta make a decision.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I can sit here and be depressed, or I can do what I know other successful people do and make a decision on this right now. And I just did.
Just for kicks, pardon the pun. What?
That's good.
Not bad. Huh? So,
That was good.
what would you have done instead? What would just?
Yeah.
You didn't do it, but what would you? What? Maybe there's someone out there right now. They're like thinking, okay, A or B. What would you have done instead if you weren't the champion that you became, the business owner that you are, the inspiration you are to so many kids and families and all that good stuff? What would you have done?
I probably would be in some sort of sales position, probably a sales or marketing position, and I would have made that work. You know what I mean? I'm an all-in person. I don't do anything halfway. If I'm not good at it, I won't do it. And that's probably not the right attitude to have, but I'm not good at checkers, so I will not play you in checkers because I don't like losing. So now, if I want to get
I'm
better,
not going to play you in checkers, James. Don't worry.
if I want to get better at checkers, I will immerse myself
Yeah.
within checkers, and I will play hours and hours.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm on a chess kick, and I just want to get better at chess. I like it, I enjoy it, and I'm playing probably 10 games a day.
Wow.
You know, on my phone, it's mostly laying in bed at night, but I immerse myself within whatever I'm trying to get better at.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of the key to improvement is you have to, hit it head on. But I would have done great in whatever I decided to do just because I'm that type of person.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm a very one-track minded person. I would have become the best salesperson or best marketer I could.
But here's what I love. If you notice when he was sharing, there was a countenance change when I asked the question. If you ask somebody, what do you love about what you do? You could just tell right away. It's just like, But when and there's a lot of people that we both know that are in careers, that are in jobs, that are in professions, that are leading, and they're just like, but they're just gutting through. But when you match that passion with that desire and that work ethic to go with it, it's just it's unstoppable. The only enemy really is you. I mean, that's the only thing really stopping you in front of you, right?
Quit your job today is what I tell everybody. If you have a job, quit it.
That's good.
And that doesn't mean you don't get a paycheck.
Right. Don't be right.
Start your passion, quit your job. If your passion's working at McDonald's, go for it.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
That's good.
Some
I love
people
it.
are.
I love it. Okay. Tell us a story about the wise man's journey. It's on your website, by the way, with the brown belt. Oh, that's okay. As a child to an old man.
What is it?
Oh, you have a story about the wise man, the journey as a child to an old man, and the story of how he started out as a child trying to change the world, and then moves to what happens, his progression over time when he gets older. There's a story about a wise man. Mm-hmm. Starts as a child, he wants to change the world, and as he progresses and moves on, then he begins to see that maybe he's going to try and change his own country. And then after changing his country, then what happens? What does he realize at the end?
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Oh, you don't? Okay. All right. Well, there's a story on that. It touched me big time because what he said was, when he was heading toward Well, it was great. It was fantastic. It said that basically, when it gets to the end of the wise man's days, it basically came down to the only thing that can change that made a real difference was himself.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Golly.
That's all good. No, it's all good.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just kind of along. It's kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about in terms of. It's pretty cut and dry. Be positive.
Yeah,
I'm a big.
That's good.
The book that really changed my life was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
And I have a ton of books that I recommend, but I read that book once a month, every month, for a year straight.
Wow.
I say I read. I didn't read it. I listened to it. I kind of cheated, so. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
The first habit is be proactive, and that's that whole book was seemingly very difficult for me to comprehend, because I come from a very different, like my family and I are not the same type of person.
Sure.
Yeah, and like I didn't grow up around my dad. Yeah, I love him to death, but he's halfway across the country. My mom is in prison right now, so
Wow.
I don't lose any sleep over it, so I don't. You shouldn't be bothered by it either. But I'm not telling you that story for pity. I'm telling you that just to give everybody an understanding of where I come from is not a positive background. It's filled with victim mentality, just all the things that nobody in this room wants to be surrounded by. So I had to make a change of those things, and I think it's so for me. Whenever I had those 7 habits, it was so stupid to me. Like, stupid is the word. It was so stupid to me. Like, this is so dumb, and I just kept just every month. And luckily I had somebody kind of helping me through the process, and he really challenged me to be open-minded to things and be more positive, because I thought I was being positive and I wasn't. And then there were scenarios that would happen. I'm like, how can you be positive in situations like this? And there really is. I mean, you can find good in just about everything that happens. And that's kind of just a mental attitude to have, I think. Going back to the story you're referring to, just be positive. And I think it's all paradigm. It's all how you view things. You know, you have a choice. Everybody in here has a choice to view something in a negative light or in a positive light. And ultimately, whichever one you view it at, you're absolutely right.
Well, our stories are very powerful, and I won't go too far down the rabbit trail with that. Thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful. I mean, it could have talk about going in one of 2 directions, and where you've channeled that. You know, from whence we all come from, and there's a story there that drives us, that gives us sometimes how we choose our careers, how we choose our businesses, how we choose our battles to fight. And I'm absolutely blown away. I think it's powerful, and thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. So, so let's talk about your business. Okay, we'll go into transition into your organization.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. How did you get started in that? And we talked a little bit off camera, but when we started about marketing is something you really love doing,
Yep.
and as far as coaching, inspiring, training, and the staff that you lead. So just jump in on that. How did that begin? And we'll go from there.
I initially started, I'll just be honest with you guys. I initially started the gym to make money. And it's like, look, I don't want to go work at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's like, I'm already here. I might as well make money at this.
Right.
Now, if any of you guys are Simon Sinek fans, you'll understand that it's not, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So I very shortly after realizing that you can't just open up a business to make money, that can't be the sole purpose. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that.
Right.
So for me, I had to take a step back, and I was like, okay, why am I doing this? Why do I love this? And ultimately, just kind of what we went back to, how it's changed my life. And I wanted to offer the same for other people. The problem with that is the way it changed my life is, as you know, I got thrown to the wolves. But you can't do that with everybody, because nobody wants to, it drastically reduces your reach and potential. So I'm trying to reach as many people as I can to change their lives through martial arts and fitness as humanly possible. So how do I make this thing accessible for just a casual member that wants to come in?
Sure.
Nobody had that in Kansas City. That's not a thing. And so I wanted to, my goal was to offer, I guess, a breath of fresh air in martial arts to people. And I wanted to offer them something that you don't have to come in and fight. You can come in, learn self-defense, get in great shape, and just have an awesome time doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I set out to do. So I quit worrying about the money. And don't get me wrong, we still have metrics and we still have goals and things
Absolutely.
like that. That's always, you always have to have that for growth. But I started, my focus is not on money. My focus is on culture, environment, atmosphere, just creating an amazing place for people to come hang out, essentially, hang out with their friends, And we're still not where we need to be. I'm not a person that settles. If my goal is 1 million, as soon as I hit 1 million, we're going to 2 million to 4. And that's just, if I want to change 100 lives, when we get to 100, we're going to go to 200 to 4, and that's just how I work. So there's never going to be an end to this, and I want to increase my reach out. So we have 2 locations in Kansas City. One is in North Kansas City off North Oak Traffic Way. We're about 200-ish, a shade over 200 members there, and then we have another one in Lee Summit, and we're about 350 locations, 350 members there. I'm sorry. So I've been really fortunate to, I think I was the first one in Kansas City to associate a casual member with MMA and jiu-jitsu, and really offering a platform for these people to come in and learn real things that can create extreme results for fitness, self-defense, and just have a fun time doing it.
So
I was the first one to worry about the why rather than the what.
That's good. That's good. We love Simon Sinek around here as well. He's a wonderful inspiration. So I can call you Champ.
Call me whatever you want.
Is that all right?
Sure.
So Champ.
I'm just here for the free coffee.
ACA coffee. Very good. Okay. Tell me, what has all your training taught you about the world of business? What's some of the biggest lessons, the biggest keys that have kind of either leading, being an inspiration to your staff or the customers that you're serving? What's worked well that's brought you to where you're at today here as a business owner here, successful business owner here in Kansas City?
So you're asking me what has training taught me into business?
Or as a fighter, or kind of the lessons that kind of translate very well?
You reap what you sow. It's pretty simple. You get out what you put in.
That's good.
It's up to you. However much you want, you can have, and you just have to work hard to get it. The work hard part is, I guess I want to be clear about that, because I know a lot of guys that work hard, and it's work hard with direction. So I use this analogy a lot. I see a lot of guys, especially trying to do the martial arts in my industry, in the area, that they are hard workers. The problem is they're climbing up this ladder. They're climbing, and they're working so hard. They're climbing at crazy speeds, and they're working really, really hard. And when they get to the top of the ladder, they take a look around and they realize that the ladder that they should have been on was right next to the one that they're on. And so you have to have hard work with intention. You have to organize. You have to game plan. Hard work is not. There's an asterisk behind it. You know what I mean? You have to have intentions, and you have to have game plans and goals. And so, that being said, I think hard work is obviously extremely important, but there is smart work is, you hear the saying, don't work harder, work smarter. I believe in both.
Let's do both. Yeah, right, it's both and. It's not an either or.
Exactly.
That's good.
And so we have, I think, honestly, I don't think I'm doing anything special. I just think I'm the first one to set my pride aside and ask other people for help. I know I see guys that are doing it way better than me, and I say, hey, what are you doing?
Wow.
Let me know. And I just feel like a lot of my competition just can't do that. And I really don't. In terms of competitors, I don't really worry about anybody else. I'm a big believer in the law of abundance, so I don't really focus on what they're doing. But I don't feel like they're asking the right questions. I don't feel like they're asking any questions at all. And I don't really know, because I don't pay much mind to them. But I focus on what we're doing, and I immerse myself within our goals, our numbers, our energy, our atmosphere, our culture, and I have very little time to worry about what other people do.
Tell us about your family.
Married, will be 6 years.
Congratulations.
This month. Thank
Wonderful.
you. I have a daughter that is going to be, my wife's birthday is actually today.
All right.
My daughter will be 2 years old.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Krause.
My daughter will be 2 years old next week, and then my sister, my 12-year-old sister, also lives with me.
Nice.
So that's my family dynamic. It's a pretty, we have a pretty interesting atmosphere going at home. It's pretty fun. So.
And you bring that family dynamic into the when you go to show up for work every day. These people, your brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
arms.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, I think it's this. This is so weird. Has anybody? I'm sure somebody here has read the 5 Love Language book. Anybody? Yeah. It's I take that and I try my best. I've found that book best relates to me with dealing with my family and my employees and leading other people, because everybody is different. And you have to understand how to talk to somebody. You have to understand what they want.
Right.
And I've tried a lot of other leadership books, and just everybody is completely different, especially in my world. You know, I mean, you have a lot of different characters coming through that want to. You have to be in a different place to want to fist fight for a living. You know what I mean? You got to be a little off. So, and that's okay.
In a good way. No, in a good way. Yeah.
You have a lot of different personalities, so you have to understand what those people are looking for. And the same thing at home. You have to understand what exactly that, you know, as a family they want, and attack it, I guess.
It's good. So James, as we start heading for the final bell, how many rounds usually? Is it 5? Three rounds.
3 5.
Okay. See. Okay. As we're coming to the end of I really enjoyed this interview today. You were an amazing, inspirational guest today. And what would be the one thing you'd want to share with the audience of business owners, professionals, executives, kind of if you're coaching us today? What would you say? And you don't know anything about our stories, or if there was the one thing that just kind of bubbling up in you right now, what would you want to say to leave as a message for us today, going forward with some inspiration from the champ?
There's so many things. I think you're not gonna get one answer out of me.
Okay, that's all right.
There's a bunch.
I'm not gonna argue with you either.
I think continuous learning is
That's good.
Habit 7, sharpen the saw. I think that's extremely important, and you have to challenge yourself to learn new things, be open-minded to new ideas, and constantly, I challenge myself to listen to one book a month. And I feel like, amongst other articles and other things, and I feel like that, and I don't listen, I don't listen to, I don't know, whatever, Twilight or Harry Potter or whatever the thing is.
Right.
It's, productive things. Sorry if anybody reads those books. Productive things that will make an impact on me today. So I spend a lot of money being a part of mastermind groups, talking to people that are doing it better than me, reading books, anything that I can get my hands on to become better, I think is super important to just, once again, where there's no middle, it's back or forward.
Right.
So you have to constantly be going forward. You know what? I will give you, that's my one answer. Because
no, I love it. Because it's mastery. It's always a student, always being a student.
Because it really, if you take that idea of forward or back, no in between, it really applies to just about everything. Like if you're not going forward, if you ain't first, you're last. You know, you like my quote.
I love it. I'm writing it down right now.
In all seriousness, though, like you have to constantly be on your game. You have to constantly show up, not just be physically present. You have to be mentally present to what's going on, and you have to. I don't compare myself to others. I don't. That drives me nuts when people compare them. Don't worry about what other people are doing.
It's good.
Focus on your goals and what's important to you, because half the time, people put on this facade of they're killing it, they're doing this, and they are absolute train wreck behind closed doors. You know, and that's one half of it. The other half of it is timing.
Right.
Maybe their timing is different. You know, I've seen people. You know, how many overnight successes have you seen that just 1 minute they're here, and the next minute they're on top of the world? But if they were worried about, Johnny getting a $4 more raise to them an hour, that wouldn't have happened. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Worry about yourself and worry about the progression of where you are. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself.
It's good.
That's, you have to become a better version of yourself. That's it. That's all I got.
It's good. And there you have it. James, champ, thank you so much for this. This was
Appreciate
great.
it.
If we give James a round of applause. And we will be right back.